Namaste, Namaskaram, Vanakkam to all the PGurus audience. I have already several times mentioned about how happy and joyful I am in addressing the PGuru audience. The reasons are well known. I also thank Iyer for giving this opportunity. Now, today we will take up the issue of this Pakistan. For quite some time, I think we have not been focusing on Pakistan. Pakistan, we categorize it as the only army with a country. Everywhere else we have countries who have got armies, but Pakistan is different. Actually, if you ask me, it's a cancerous disease. Those of you who are very, very interested can go to my website, rvaidya2000 at wordpress.com. As early as 2011, I have written detailed article about dealing with Pakistan. Nothing much has changed because it was a country conceived in terms of hatred for one group, namely the Hindus. Any system or any group which is formed based on the hatred for the others is not going to survive for a very long period of time. It has to have its own organic inputs or organic methods, and they somehow thought they are the descendants of Khilji and all the Middle Eastern monarchs. And I don't think seriously Saudi Arabia or Qatar Islamic people treat Pakistanis as they're equal. They may be treated as Muslims, but still, they are of a different category. We'll come to that because we tend to think that a Muslim is a single homogenized category, but within that there are several caste and several type of distinctions are present. So it is based upon hatred. It didn't last long, actually. You can see that country has been split into Bangladesh and Pakistan in 1971. So religion by itself is not a binding force, particularly when it is counterposed against another multifaceted and diverse faith like Hinduism. And not only that, it has not seen any proper type of a evolution in terms of democratic structures and other thing. Over a long period of time, it has faced severe crisis in terms of one dictator to another dictator. And as one of my friends in Pakistan, whom I met in US, he's a professor. Actually, he used to go around telling that he's from India. I used to ask him, "You are actually from Karachi? Why are you?" He says, "No, sir, better to say I am from India and get away with it. Otherwise, the whole conversation in the group will be about Pakistan, terrorism, and all our." This was, of course, in the beginning of the century. Anyhow, their position is very, very precarious. Now, they have always been, ruled by dictators. That professor used to joke with me that we thought general election mean we will elect whom generals say. And in your country, general election seems to be different. Anyhow, so that is how it used to be considered or thought about another thing. And for a long period of time, unfortunately, post these developments of ISIS and Al Qaeda and other thing, Pakistanis are considered as international. We are not supposed to be mentioning that international untouchable or internationally not cared for group. Actually, they were many more times subjected to checks in the airports and so many things. So that is a type of situation. Recently, actually, they had one election that was much, much later than that of Ayub Khan's time, who developed the concept of a peculiar type of democracy. And it has seen its own several ramifications. Madeleine Albright, if I remember, she used to be the I think recently she passed away. She used to be the in charge of state, Secretary of State in US. She used to say that Pakistan is an international migrant openly, and she also, in some other context, mentioned that if you grow snakes in your garden, one time or other they will come to bite you. But Pakistan was always a favorite of the US over a long period of time because it was always considered as a counterpoint to Russia. I do not know. And the Americans are very peculiar. They always support dictatorships and they are not very enthusiastic about democracy. And they were selling huge amount of arms and armaments. Pakistan had a significant amount of support from Pentagon due to that because every arms sale, some commission would be earned by the general in US. And actually, one of my friends commented that the number of star generals in Washington today exceed that of the total number of generals during the Second World War of US. Anyhow, many of them, were very fond of Pakistan for this additional reason. And over a period of time, they were the favorite of Pentagon. The foggy bottom, otherwise known as the State Department, sometime or other used to have some amount of support for India, but that was not very carrying very much conviction. White House, that was used to be swayed more by Pentagon over a long period of time, and they always used to provide support, even after knowing fully well that Al Qaeda chief Osama was given refuge inside Pakistan. US did not take any severe steps against Pakistan. Pakistan was always considered as a poodle. Recently only something has happened wherein this Imran Khan, who was the ex-cricketer and who became the chief of their country and who has been overthrown and now who is having a big battle. But public support is with him. Let me repeat it. If tomorrow there is an election held in Pakistan, he will come out very, very successfully. He wanted to file an FIR about attempt assassination, which included a name of the army person. The Pakistan did not accept it. It's very difficult to file any case against any army people inside Pakistan. This one should very clearly know about it. Army rules the roost, actually. And openly, Imran Khan's supporters have several times accused the army of overthrowing him with the support from US, as well as creating all these issues and other things. This is very recent, actually. Till now, including the killing of Benazir Bhutto, there has never been a sincere attempt to investigate the role of the army in the functioning of the country. Army has always had a primordial role. Not only that, within army, the ISI is one which had a significant amount of hold on the functioning of the country, including today. And so without ISI nod, army will not take any steps. And without army's nod, the government of Pakistan will not be. And to the extent, very interesting things have taken place. One of the groups which were what one can call basis or which had a significant support were Ahmadiyyas or Qadinis of the erstwhile pre-independence time. They had a huge amount of support from the Ahmadiyyas in UP and other places. And the same Ahmadiyyas today are being discriminated significantly in Pakistan. They are not even recognized as Muslims. And there is one famous scientist, Abdul Salam, who got even Nobel Prize. He is originally from Pakistan, but he is not recognized much compared to the 𝗚𝘂𝗍𝘂𝘀 Khan, who had some smuggling done of the nuclear material and other things. This Abdul Salam is a Nobel laureate, and in his hometown, where he is buried, they put up a notice or they put up a arc telling the first physics Nobel laureate, Islamic Nobel laureate from Pakistan. And some of the locals were not happy about it since he is an Ahmadiyya. So they removed the Islamic portion of it, and then it was just mentioned as first Nobel laureate in nuclear physics. Some sort of grudge or the way they treated him and other. So the first casualty were Ahmadiyyas, who were one of the ardent supporters. The second very interesting is in southern part of India, quite a number of Muslims actually voted for Pakistan. They never went there. That's a separate issue. Qaid-e-Millat, about which so much is talked about in Tamil Nadu. He was one of those who wanted the creation of Pakistan actually. In any other country, he would have been thrown into dustbin. But Tamil Nadu politics is being different because that Ramsamy Nayakar party, they wanted actually the Jinnah to help them in getting the Dravidistan, and that's a separate history. So that is another thing. Quite a number of people who wanted the creation, they didn't move into the other country. And also the time of partition, it was not a full-fledged exchange of population or anything. So it had its own ramification to the extent in Indian politics, many leaders of Congress and other persuasions like Socialist Party and other thing thought that if you are good with Pakistan, Indian Muslims will be happy. In other words, slowly over a period of time, dangerous type of a thinking developed in India, wherein Indian Muslims were treated as if they are Pakistani partisans, and satisfying them will be very easy in terms of having good relations. Then there is always this Ganga, Yamuna, Tejib, and all the thing. And initial period, at least till the time of Indira Gandhi, all the advisors to the government on this, as well as various type of experts, are all either born in Pakistan or they were Kashmiri Hindus who had their own what one can call affinity or liking to Pakistan. We had this Manmohan Singh, including Advani, who were all of the born on the other side of the border. So everybody was very much fascinated or somehow or other had a positive thinking about this, what you may loosely call this Lahore and this culture, and that swayed them actually, to the extent that during Inder Gujral time and Morarji time, it used to be told that a lot of our assets we created there with a lot of difficulty. It was created over a long period of time. For instance, some of you would have heard about or known about the current security advisor who was inside Pakistan for quite a number of years actually, and he was creating a huge number of what are called in the intelligent jargon assets and other. Many of those were disbanded during the time. And aside, the Ajit Doval was found out by some Pakistani agents that he is not actually Muslim. By looking at his pierced ears, he saw that his ears are pierced, and normally Muslims don't pierce their ears. And that exposed Ajit Doval. Anyhow, he came back. And the point I want to stress is some of our leaders had a soft corner towards Pakistan. Unfortunately, it did not help. Even Indira Gandhi, after our war of liberation of Bangladesh, and we had 93,000 prisoners of war of Pakistan. That time we could have easily negotiated with Bhutto that this Kashmir problem should be solved once and for all. We didn't do that actually. We just gave up this 93,000 without any quid pro quo. We have been, I would rather say, very, very soft towards dealing this cancerous disease. Now, what's the way out? To recognize very clearly that this is not going to go away in terms of soft talk and sweet dishes and other things. It's a cancerous disease, and some years before they visualized themselves as a global leaders. They wanted to align with Turkey and Malaysia and other thing and form a separate sort of a entity which will encourage formation of this kingdom in Europe as well as in Asia. They wanted to have their own caliphate, and this Turkey also had a grandeur illusions. Their leader Erdogan was considering himself as a global leader of the Ummah. But unfortunately or fortunately, Turkey is running some 80% inflation and not in a position to. And Pakistan, everybody knows, it was in the grey list of FATF in terms of the money laundering and other things. Due to the influence of US and China, it has recently come out of the grey list. But let us wait and see how much these countries are going to be with. Because For short-term benefit, China may support Pakistan, but it will have its own grave consequences in the long term, because the idea of Islamic Ummah is not incongruent with anything which China stands for. So we have to be very alert. We have to be very clear. And the only way in which it can be dealt with is not by having any so-called democratic, democracy in Pakistan doesn't go together. It's a oxymoron actually. It can never go together as long as their army is so powerful. The only way will be to have it split into a couple of countries, and it has to be done not by a implosion, which will be long lasting and which will create huge amount of turmoil, which will spill over to India. We will have a huge number of refugees coming into India, but it has to be done in a much more sophisticated fashion, so that the implosion is contained within, and the formation of the 3 4 countries is done in a very systematic fashion. And the second is, you see, their financial system is very fragile. I have always maintained, if we encourage a couple of Indian business people, they can actually bring down their entire financial system by acquiring huge amount of stocks in the Karachi exchange. And this I have written in detail and other thing. So it's not something, but it's not in our interest to create an explosion there, which will have a huge spillover of human beings into India. And that is not our trend, or that is not our mechanism, similar to that of Bangladesh, which was a different cup of tea. So the only way in which world peace can be achieved is by having smaller countries formed out of Pakistan. There is absolutely no two opinion about it. And some of the other countries like Armenia and others may also be supportive of this type of a proposition. Let us be very, very clear. Pakistan is a grave danger to the world. Many a time they themselves, they threaten the world by telling that they will commit suicide and other thing. They keep one gun on their temple and then threaten the world. World is very worried about it, actually, because they also have nuclear weapon. There are two opinions. Some say the button to the nuclear weapons are all with the US. Some say no, no, no. Many of the buttons are still with Pakistan. Any which way, this keeping the gun on your own temple and then arguing with others is not a desirable thing. So it's a cancerous disease afflicting not just South Asia or anything, global. For instance, if you go back, you see the history, roughly 80 to 85% of the global terror activity is in some way or other connected with Pakistan. Either Pak inspired or Pak citizen or Pak giving the support, all these things. They will always say they give moral support. And I always used to be wondering, such a immoral country giving moral support to any cause is something a very funny thing. So I think the world should realize that this is a very dangerous proposition. And today there are some reports which suggest that Afghanistan Taliban wants to play a very important role in Pakistan, because they feel that Pakistan also should have a Taliban type of a role. If that is the case, then that is, 5 times more disastrous for both US as well as for China. So I think the world should recognize and take steps in order to what one can call create smaller countries which are governable, and some of them could be under military rule of under the protection of US or China for some period of time. So we should explicitly recognize, I mean the world, explicitly recognize the type of threat which is being provided by this country, artificially created, based only on hatred of others, not for any other purpose. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.